I would like to show you how to maintain and care for your Taurus 1911. Now, we have a PT 1911. Clear and safe. No magazine in the well. No spent casings or obstructions in the barrel. Now, the 1911 has a lot of different ways to be taken apart. You're going to hear a lot of different methods, alright? The one that I recommend is probably one of the simplest ones. Once you've made sure that your firearm is safe and clear, lock the safety up. Now, this spring is under tension in here, so remember, I'm going to point it down. I don't want anything coming back at me. So with the safety still up and my finger off the trigger, I'm going to use the bushing wrench. I'm going to match it to the overall shape of the bushing. Now I'm going to start going right towards my right. Look what happens. Comes right out. Put that on the table. This is not a captured guide rod assembly. Okay, this is just like the TCP, just a bit bigger. Now if I point the bushing towards the right, what happens? It gives me the option to pull out the spring and the cap. Okay, now I'm going to take the safety back off. This allows me to move the slide back to the first little notch right here. Cut out on the slide. Now what I'm going to do is, see that little portion right there for the slide release? I'm going to push that through, wiggle it, pull it out. Remember, if it doesn't come out at first, it's probably because of the pressure right here, especially on new guns. Right here for the detent. So wiggling and pulling helps. Also stuff you can do by hand. You don't really need any tools. Now, very slowly, and pull the slide off. Remember, I turn the bushing to the right to pull out the spring and the cap. Now to pull out the barrel, I push it to the left. The reason why, there's a notch right here on the bushing that lines up with this open hole right here on the slide. I'm going to pull out my guide rod. I'm going to push the barrel link forward. Pull the barrel out. Now it seems like a lot of steps, but once you've practiced, it'll be a lot easier. This one is equipped with a Crimson Trace laser grip. Always be careful when you're cleaning any firearm that has any one of these aftermarket parts installed on them. Why? Because it tends to have a little window right here where the laser comes out of. So you want to be careful not to put any oil in that, or to not put too much oil that's going to bleed down into the battery. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and turn this one off. This is a Master Series Crimson Trace laser grip, G10 handles. It has a little on and off switch right here. I'm going to go ahead and turn that off. Now, start off with the frame, wiping it down. Safety down. Nylon brush. You're going to get some carbon sometimes built up around the ejector area here in the back. Make sure to clean that up. Down here in the magazine well, the good thing about this, it's a big old 45, so this brush is going to fit down through here very easily. Down the dust cover right here. Quick wipe down. Another thing I want to bring your attention to, whenever you have a bare 1911 frame like this without the slide on, try not to dry fire the gun, because this is going to come forward and slam onto the frame every time. What's going to happen, if you could see here, you're going to get a rolled edge eventually right around this area. Then you're going to try and put on your slide back on, and it's not going to let you go back all the way sometimes. And you're going to wonder what happened to my brand new gun. Well, that's what happens. It's a very thin area here in the back, and there's a lot of spring pressure on the main spring right here. It needs that pressure, that way when it hits the firing pin will hit the primer on the back of the bullet and go off how it's supposed to. So you don't want to do that. That's why if you want to leave the safety on while you're cleaning the gun, that's fine. Just make sure to put the safety back on when you're putting the, or take the safety off when you're putting the slide back on. Clean the slide now. You can use that same bore brush in certain areas like these that you can't get a brush or a cloth into. Remember, use it dry. Most of the cleaning I do is dry. It's not as messy. Grab that same bore brush, breech face. The extractor on this model is internal, unlike the 24/7 G2. You can see it right here. So you want to get carbon that's built up in here. So using that brush and trying to get in there really helps out. Try and get into the slide rails. Try and get the back. Barrel, same thing. Make sure that barrel ramp is nice and clean and polished. It's going to help promote proper feeding out of the magazine and into the chamber. Clean the outside. Bore brush. Remember, I haven't put any oil down the barrel. There's no need. If you ever get to the point that you think you need oil to clean out your barrel because you've noticed an accumulation of carbon or lead, there are some products available to help take that out. Just make sure that they're not extremely corrosive and that you're wearing proper protection, proper PPE when handling some of those substances. You don't want to eat through your hands or get any sores. Now, it's time to put that slide back together. This one's different than the other guns because you're not going to be going this way. Last part taken out is the first one getting put back in, which is the barrel. Come back until the locking lugs engage on the barrel. You're going to grab your bushing. Remember that notch right there. It's going to go down the middle. Remember, notice how I'm wiggling parts. Sometimes it's going to get stuck, so you need to wiggle them loose. Put the guide rod back in. Barrel link up now to make room for the guide rod. Now you want to make sure that your barrel link is just kind of hanging down. This is why. Safety off. Remember, I'm trying to find those frame rails, so I wiggle. This is where some people get stuck. They try and pull the slide back and it might not come back. There's just a channel cut out for that barrel lug on the bottom. You might be coming in at a wrong angle, but just by wiggling a bit like I showed you, tapping the barrel in the front, you're going to get it moving. Sometimes I like using a pin punch like this to line that hole back up, because what you're trying to do now is, just like when you took it apart, trying to line up the link pin with the hole. I'm going to grab the slide release, put it about halfway, line it up, hit that little hole one more time. Alright, now the biggest misconception is when you're putting this back in to push and roll up. That's how you get the uh-oh scratch right here. We get some calls about that. It can be very easily avoided by just lining it up with the hole. Grab a screwdriver, goes right in. Okay? The reason why I use a plastic handle screwdriver to give it a quick tap is that's the pressure you're going to need to bypass the same detent we were talking about before. Slide forward, safety back on. Okay? Remember, you're going to put in your spring now, it's going to be under pressure. So I'm going to point everything back down. I'm going to push and catch the lip of that spring cap with my bushing. I'm going to come back with my bushing wrench, push in. You're going to know you're done when you hear the click. See? It's engaged now. This part of the bushing right here has to engage with the spring cap right here. clear and safe. No magazine in the well, no spent casings or obstructions in the barrel.